Hi everyone, how we doing? My name is Matt, Mr. ADHD Games, and what I got to do this month that was really special, really unique, is I got to interview some amazing people with ADHD. I got to talk to them about their experiences, they got to share some of their stories, and so I've been able to cut those down and do some editing and put together just some highlights from those interviews. So go with me on this journey as we check out the stories of these awesome ADHDers. Oh my goodness, everybody, look who it is. It's Guitarbard. Hey. This is Guitarbard. This is somebody who is neurodiverse. This is somebody who is super amazing. Every time I tune into her chat, I learn something new about her. Musician, artist, just very creative, very fun person. Must have a great group of friends, because every time that she's playing D&D, I'm cracking up.
Thank you very much. That was another very sweet intro.
The subject I have you on here to talk about tonight, and we kind of talked about it a little bit, is ADHD and mentorship, which is something we haven't really talked about on stream before, and I think that it's something I honestly didn't even think about how impactful it was for me.
As I told you, I just got back from axe throwing, actually. Brought it with me. Just so I could, I'm like, let me grab it just so you can see. I'm part of the league, so it's actually my league shirt.
Oh, nice.
Me in general, I like to game, I like to stream, I like music. I am very ADHD. I was diagnosed as an adult. I was about 18 when I got a diagnosis, but then I wasn't medicated properly for it until I was in my late 20s, which was frustrating. And this happens a lot with women. It's you're being nice and well behaved in class because you're primarily inattentive. So we're not going to worry about you. We're going to worry about the kid who literally can't sit in his desk. But I had a manager at my first job on the sales floor who, when I was working, one day she pulled me aside. She's like, look, I can tell you're very ADHD, and I know this because I am too. I can help you be more efficient and figure out better ways to do things in line with your ADHD, like how to make it work for you. And I was like, yes, please. Because, I was doing my best. When they teach you like life management skills, life organization skills, they're all tailored to the neurotypical brain. ADHD brain doesn't work like that. So like every time my mom tried to get me coaching or whatever for things to help me, it never worked because my brain just didn't process it. But then with my manager helping me, I just grew leaps and bounds.
I was going to ask if you still had a relationship with this person, because it sounds like it was obviously a very deeply impactful relationship.
Oh, for sure. My first day in the city for work that I ran into her there, she had this big grin on her face. She's like, you made it. And I'm like, I made it. She's definitely a very, very impactful relationship and incredibly, incredibly helpful.
For me, there's two different parts of this that I find pretty huge. So the first part is somebody coming up to you and being open and comfortable enough to talk about the fact that they have ADHD. On top of that, just offering to share with you like the things that they've learned. I think that's huge.
I work in a bookstore. When people were looking for books about ADHD and looking for help with ADHD, I would immediately run to help them and also suggest other resources that I knew of or I had or things that had worked for me. If something I knew or something I did could help people even a fraction as much as she helped me, then it's worth it. By being open about her ADHD to me and trusting me with that she took the time to help me with strategies, I wanted to do the same. Like if any of the strategies that I learned or that I taught myself could be helpful to anybody else. Because ADHD, when it's not managed and you don't have those skills, it's frustrating. If me being open about it and me sharing the things that I've done, things that help me, can help even one person, worth it.
I think that if a lot of people had that attitude and could kind of recall people that have helped them and pay that forward, it would be huge.
Oh,
The The next thing I want to ask you is, I know that you said this person mentored you, which I mean is probably like an arsenal of information, a whole bunch of strategies. What was the one that was the most impactful, or the one that stuck with you the most? The one that, like, when you think back, sticks in your head that you're like, okay, this was the one. Like, this one really blew my mind.
This one I actually use for my current job, and that was learn how to channel the hyperfocus. Be aware of what things, sensations, feelings, topics, subjects, activities. Pay attention to what makes you hyperfocus. Not just because sometimes if we hyperfocus too much, it's like, oh, look, there goes the day and I've done nothing I have to do. But because then if you can learn what triggers it, you can, I guess, trigger it at will almost, or figure out ways to make it work for you. As part of my job, I work now in email, and part of my job involves coding in HTML. I was, one of those kids who grew up with GeoCities and online profiles, so I like working with HTML. And I discovered that because I like it, if I plug in my headphones and put on music, I can go. Fast forward, now I have the reputation on my team as Speedy or Roadrunner, because if they need something done fast, they know that I can do it. Because like new software, technology, anything where I can be creative, any way that I can make something move at the same speed my brain moves, I can hyper-focus on that. If I listen to music, or if I have music going on in the background, it's easier for me to fall into that zone no matter what I'm doing. I use that to my advantage, and I would just get stuff done. The next one down, if you have an idea, run with it. I mean, it might be a tangent, yes, but if it's an idea, go with it. Because sometimes your brain goes on these weird tangents into random ideas and thoughts and stuff. Just for a moment, fixate on the one like, ooh, that actually has merit. Let's follow that one. It could lead to something awesome.
Obviously, you have worked very hard. Even with the strategies, it's never easy. And that's what I always remind people. Is like, the strategies help, but the challenge of doing something for X amount of time or focusing into stuff is still very much there. So
the Pomodoro method that you have been doing, the 25 and 5, that has been so helpful. I'll use it at work for things because it's that helpful. For me, it triggers that competitive side in my brain. Like, ooh, can I get it done in the 25 minutes?
Well, and then also the procrastination when you're down to just a couple minutes and you're like, I can finish this, and I have like 2 minutes to finish this, and you're like, I haven't finished what I'm working on. And so that's the similar place where I am, where I would like to impact people, and I would like to be a positive force in the ADHD universe. Your funniest ADHD memory? Because obviously you were diagnosed as an adult. Everybody who's diagnosed as an adult has 100 memories of all the things that like they reflect back on, and they're like, oh yeah, that was ADHD. Like, how did nobody see this?
So I loved learning things, and I still love learning things. I've always loved learning new things. So of course, teachers in school really, really liked me. But I was going through like old documents, and some of them were old report cards. And I'm going through the comments. The majority of them were things like, has trouble focusing in class, or asks a lot of questions. And also like incredibly bright and a pleasure to have in class. And I remember going through and actually tallying up how many of them ADHD warning signs. I called my mom and I'm like, look, if any of my future children come home with a report card that says incredibly gifted and a pleasure to have in class, they're getting tested for everything immediately. ADHD being at the top of the list.
Oh yeah, and it's that's the thing. It is hereditary.
It's hereditary. Writing my senior thesis in college, I was doing like 5 cups of coffee in a row because I wasn't properly medicated. 2 is another sign. It's like when you need coffee to focus, or if it makes you sleepy sometimes, And
I'm always big on telling people, like, especially in ADHD, and I know that you probably have been through it, but like I've been through the ringer with medication. I've been on it, I've been off it, I've been on a bunch of different types of it, and I don't fault anybody for ever wanting to be on or off any medications for ADHD.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to be on it, great. If you want to be off it, great. Like, you do whatever is right for your brain. I know that, like you said, we struggle with things like addiction, and we struggle with those things because they provide that stimulation, and so you end up with
that little dopamine hit. Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say ADHD is not my only neurodivergence. It's just the one that I'm most comfortable talking about. Like medication cocktail thing and trying the different ones. I can absolutely understand why some people go, nope, I'm out. I've noticed that recently I've been a little more anxious. I'm like, no, we're going to do this the hard way. We're going to deal with this the hard way. We're not going to medicate this. We've been on a nice, balanced, working combination for years now, and we are not going to risk that. I too don't fault anyone for not wanting to be on medication, for either wanting or not to be on medication. A lot of times, the medication is only half the battle. Yes, it gives us that kind of slightly better focus. It doesn't change the fact that our brains still work differently in terms of, you know, how we process things, how we understand things, how we get things done. So just because we have the capability to do it now and maybe focus a little better, it's still like we don't magically become neurotypical with pills.
I feel like most neurodivergent people, you don't get a first one and you're like, oh, this works great. You're never that.
That is so rare. That is so rare.
Yeah, just try harder.
Focusing?
Yeah, have you tried?
Yeah, I've gotten that. Yeah,
that's like the cliche thing that people say that we hear, and it's not cliche. It's something we actually have heard our whole lives. It's like, why aren't you putting effort into this?
Wow, thanks. You've just magically cured my ADHD.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you so much for talking
to me.
Thank
you for having me.
I'm going to give you, if you want just a minute, to tell people a little bit more about like your stream and what they can expect over there.
I'm on Twitch as Guitarbard4 because the original Guitarbard was taken, even though they don't have any content, but hey, whatever. I play a lot of RPGs. I've been doing some Baldur's Gate 3, been doing some Divinity Original Sin 2. Sometimes I'll play some fun nostalgic games, very often play with friends. Really like to do charity streams. It's usually a lot of fun, a lot of laughs, a lot of nerding out.
Again, Guitarbard, thank you so much for being here, and
thank you so much for having me. This is fun.
Catch you later. And yeah, we have more coming, guys. We have more interviews. We're going to be doing interviews with all kinds of ADHD people. If you guys have questions that you guys want asked, or you guys have things you want to know more about, let me know, and we'll try to find people. If you guys have somebody you think would be really great to be interviewed who has ADHD, please let me know, because we would absolutely love to get them on here and talk to them.